So I'm here at UCLA mixing with my social betters. I arrived here in August of 1988 as an economics major. And we're taking a tour early on in my first time walking around the campus. I transferred here from Sierra Community College in Rockland, California, without having ever visited the campus. What a thrill it was for me to set foot here, determine this was the place where I was going to make it big. This is my opportunity in the big time. Of course, I was also saddled with chronic fatigue syndrome at the time. Had to drop out after just 9 months here, having only finished one class per quarter. And my father has 2 PhDs, have this inherent innate love of academia and love being on college campuses. Now I walk around here.
Cheers? Yeah.
Get so tired just walking the hills. Despair of ever being able to return. Where will I find the strength just to make the walk to class, let alone to do the work and make a contribution? So I came back to UCLA today to go to my friend's Monica Osborne's presentation lecture on the Midrashic impulse and artistic representation of the Holocaust. Monica's been a friend of mine for about 6 years, and the Midrashic impulse has been her thing. She did her PhD at Purdue. She has a superb English department on the Midrashic impulse. She did, I believe her PhD was in English, so she wasn't looking at Midrash as I think about Midrash and you think about Midrash as rabbinic commentary on the text of the Torah and the Tanakh. But she uses it as a literary form that is being used today. So, as long as she's talked about this, I've only had the vaguest, foggiest notion of what she's talking about. And so she's a friend of mine. I want to understand what she's talking about. But of course I have my significant problems. Can't figure out what the hell is really going on, and is it good? Is it important? And is it contributing to our general body of knowledge, and is it helping us clarify what's going on in a work of literature? So I'm hanging out here at the UCLA Humanities Building for a lecture put on by UCLA's formidable Jewish Studies department, which is quite well funded, has quite a few professors and a lot of programming. They bring in professors and distinguished authors to speak. So in the room today was Dr. Gershon Hepner and Dr. David Myers, who I think is in charge of UCLA's Jewish Studies department, and Eric, who's a professor of literature and overseeing some special Holocaust project. I saw Eric speak against attempts to limit artistic representation of the Holocaust and speak in favor of this woman who's doing her MFA on some interpretive dance on the Holocaust, and he thought this was great. Then I believe there was a professor of Midrash, the real Midrash, this attractive brunette woman in the audience who seemed to take exception to Monica's appropriation of the word Midrash, not foremost to describe a method of interpreting Torah texts that the rabbis of the Talmud employed, but as a form of literary analysis of modern writing. And Monica had a bit of a sore throat. She only spoke for about 20 minutes. just speaking from a prepared text, excerpts of an essay that she'd earlier emailed around to those who'd RSVP'd for the program. I was going to say something profound and now I've forgotten. So I think Monica was talking about morally better and morally worse artistic representations of the Holocaust. So if I had gotten to ask her a question, I would have asked, so what is the moral basis for saying that some artistic representations are better than others morally? Is your moral basis Torah, the divine word of God? What is your moral basis for delineating between right and wrong? And it's frustrating in that I was only able to grasp the foggiest notions of what she was talking about. And then when some of the assumed grad students and other students started asking questions, felt better in that it seemed pretty clear that they didn't know what they were talking about either. I get nervous when sacred texts are spiritualized and secularized. So the word Midrash to me refers to a very specific form of rabbinic literature from 1600 to 2300 years ago. It's found in vast portions of the Talmud. So that's what I think of as Midrash. The Bible, think of, I believe, the 32 books from Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, through to the prophet Malachi. So if someone was to talk about a biblical approach to anything, I'd start feeling nervous if there wasn't a biblical approach grounded in the 32 books of what Christians call the Old Testament and what Jews call the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible. So I think the professor of Midrash had a similar objection. Dr. David Myers, started being able to get my hands on what we were talking about when Dr. David Myers spoke, saying that when he read Monica's essay, he found about 7 different meanings for the way she used the word Midrash, and he was afraid that it was turning into, that it meant an infinite variety of ways to interpret a text, which is kind of a marsh. He didn't want to descend to that method of understanding of the word Midrash, so he pushed for some greater specificity. So I feel like I had partial grasp on what was being talked about, particularly when David Myers spoke. Then Rabbi Daniel Biskila from the Sephardic synagogue here in Westwood spoke, and he said if he was asked to give to use one word to describe the Jewish approach to text, he said it was midrash or midrashic. So on that basis, he's very enthusiastic about Monica's project. So I'm running away from the program early because I took the free parking about a mile away. Well, the free parking only lasts for 2 hours, and I'm now 10 minutes past that deadline, and I'm hoping to hell that I did not get a ticket. Well, I try to understand everything that was spoken about today. I think what informs my thinking on almost all issues is the 6 years that I spent bedridden by chronic fatigue syndrome, and kind of awkward urgency that it's left me with, and I feel that now, an awkward urgency to understand what was spoken about today.